Welcome to the presentation on the modules ACSE Biology. I wish you all to be hardworking, dedicated, and self-driven student for this course. Now, this will be a brief presentation that will help you prepare for the upcoming examination in 2019. I'll cover the content in your biology modules. This module is very thick, so it covers a lot of topics. So you really need to make sure you understand it. And I really urge you that you pay more attention, because these modules consist of many topics, from the characteristic of living organisms to conservation. Rather than that, it is also a fun modules because it is giving you insightful information about living organisms and the environment. Let's start with a characteristic of living organisms. There are 7 characteristics of living organisms. I use an acronym called Mr. Nigger that help you to understand it. Mr. Nigger, let's start with Mr. Nigger. Mr. is M, movement. Mr. meaning that is R, respiration. Nigger, nutrition. And I, irritability. Then we have excretion. Then we have reproduction. And we have growth. You really need to know the definition and also the description. Let's talk about a virus. Many people still don't understand whether a virus is a living organism or it's a not. Now, a virus, many scientists are saying, is at the border, because there are arguments that are supporting that a virus is a living organism, because it can reproduce. Although it does this inside a living cells, it reproduces. But others are opposing to virus being a living organism, because virus is not made up of cells as all the other living organisms are. Virus is not cannot carry out all 7 characteristics. Let me go back to the living things of the concept that virus is a living organism. Another reason why scientists are saying virus is a living organism is that virus is made up of DNA. It has genetic material, either DNA or RNA, which you cannot find in non-living organisms. Please, you need to know the argument for both on both sides of whether a virus is a living organism or a non-living organism. Also, the diversity of living organisms. It can be on both animal and also plant. Both animal means you need to know the 5 kingdoms. You need also to know the phylum vertebrates, the invertebrates, and also their classes, their features of these classes of the vertebrates, and also the features of all the invertebrates. And also plants. With plants, we have kingdom plants, and we have 2 phyla of plants under kingdom plants, where we have the flowering plants and the non-flowering plants. The flowering plants, then you have 2 classes of flowering plants, where we have the monocotyledon and the dicotyledon. So you really need now to know the different part of a monocotyledon plant. For example, we start with the leaves. How is the leaf? Parallel vein. And when you look at the dicotyledon leaves, they are network vein. And also when you look at their length, the dicotyledon leaves is short and the monocotyledon is longer. And also let's look at in terms of their leaves, in terms of their roots. The dicotyledon roots, it have a taproot system, and the monocotyledon, it has a fibrous root system. And please, you can also look at in terms of the example of the plant in your own environment. The mahangu, the maize, are example, and the grass are example of a monocotyledon plants. And the dicotyledon plants, you have all these flowering plants, and also the beans. Let's talk about plant and animal tissue. In plants and animal, remember we have the level of organization, meaning that we have the cells A cell is made up of different organs, but if I have a group of cells, similar cells, I call it a tissue. We have different tissue in plants and animals. So you need to know those plant tissue and animal. We can start from the roots. As you look at this, you can just look at it from this perspective. You have organs like roots in plants, the stem, the flower, the seeds, and the leaves. Now you need to know in each of those organ, there are tissues. For example, the roots, they have root hair cells. The stem, you have the vascular bundle tissue, where you have the phloem sieve tube, where you have the xylem vessels. In the leaves, you have the epidermal cells, you have the spongy mesophyll cells, parasite cells, you have the guard cells. You need now to know their function. In animal tissue, we have, let's say for example, you have different organs, right? These organs are made up of different tissues. Let's say, for example, our system, the circulatory system, we have the heart, which is made up of different tissue, the muscles tissue. You have the nerve tissue. You have the bone tissue. You have the epidermal tissue. You have the red blood tissue. You need now to know the function of those different tissues. Please, don't get confused. The tissue there is just make sure it's a group of similar cells. For example, two neurons, the motor neuron, two similar ones. Remember, tissue, similar cells. Two motor neuron, they are called motor tissue. Or two muscles cells, they are called muscle tissue. Two red blood cells, more than two cells are called tissue, please. And their structure is the same, and their function. Meaning, what do I mean the same? The cells, if it's a red blood cells, in the red blood tissue, they have the same structure, and they perform the same function. Now, the cell structure and the function, you notice I've been talking about the cell structure and the function, all the nucleus in the cells, you know, the part of the cells. It can be the cell membrane, it can be the cell wall in plants, it can be the nucleus, it can be the cytoplasm, it can be the Golgi body, it can be the endoplasmic reticulum, it can be the nucleus, the lysosome. You need to know the part, what are the different parts of the cells, as well as their functions. We look at the human digestive system, very interesting, starting from the mouth up to the innards and all the different processes that occurs there. We look at the teeth structure and the function. A human body, a human beings, remember here we are using our reference as a human being. Our human being have the incisor, the front teeth, the canine, the premolar and the molar. Look at the word premolar, before the molar. Just like when you say pre-primary, before primary school. Please, and these teeth, they do have their own function. Please familiarize yourself with the function, as well as tooth decay. How does tooth decay occur? Remember, when you eat food rich in sugar, and this sugar remaining on your enamel, and these bacteria, when we speak the bacteria into our teeth, and they feed on the sugar, and they release an acid, and this is the acid that feed on our enamel and causing tooth decay, because it's causing a hole which end up when you eat something, the food goes straight to your nail cells. So the type of teeth there, these are the incisor, the canine, and also the premolar and molar. Please know them. You should be able to label them, and also you should also be able to describe them. How do they look like? What is their function? Where are they located in a human body? Peristalsis. Peristalsis it's a process which you refer to the rhythmical contraction of muscles that are found in the alimental canal to allow the food to move along the alimental canal. Let's move on. Immune system, very interesting system. The immune system is a system in our body that protects us against diseases. Please, you need to know the type of white blood cells, the phagocyte, the lymphocyte, the neutrophil, and also their function. You need to know the antigen. What is an antigen? A special protein which is attached itself to the pathogen in order to be recognized by the body. Phagocytosis is a process. Cytosis, look at the end of that word, tosis. And also the process of blood clotting. How blood clotting occurs. Remember when you accidentally cut your blood vessels or something happened to you, blood start to flow, it is important for blood clotting to occur to prevent further bleeding and also just to prevent the entry of pathogen. But there is a process how it occurs, the concept of fibrinogen to fibrin, the process of how red blood cells are meshed into the fibrin. Please, you need to know it. The immunity and ability for our body to protect ourselves against disease. So that means you are exposed to pathogen, but you don't get sick because your body make this pathogen harmless before you show any symptom. Passive and active immunity. Passive means it's like you receive ready-made antibody. It's not you who is producing the antibody. It's not the body that is producing. You are just passive. This occurs, for example, when you receive an immunization, or when a child is breastfeeding, or when a woman is pregnant through placenta. Active immunity is when you are exposed to a pathogen and you yourself produce antibody against this pathogen, and you then kill that pathogen, or you get a disease. Then now some antibody are left in your body, the memory cell are left in your body, so that in future when you are exposed to the same pathogen, that pathogen is easily recognized and killed before you get an illness. Excretory system in the structure and the function. So you notice I also spoke about on the DES, the excretory system, the structure and the function. The structure of the nephron, very important, especially in biology. You need to know them, the Malpighian body, loop of Henle, and the proximal and distal convoluted tube. The function is, as I said there, the different parts that make up a nephron, the loop of Henle, the descending and ascending, glomerulus, Malpighian body. Remember, the Malpighian body makes up the glomerula and the Bosman capsule, the distal convoluted tube, and also the adaptation to their function, very clearly stated there. Now, the reproductive system in plants and animal, you need to know that. Changes that occur after fertilization in plants and animal, especially in plants. You notice that the sepal, the petal, the stigma, the anther, they start to dry and fall off. And what is left is just the ovary, which later develop into a fruit, and a fertilized egg, which later develop into a seed. Please, the role of sex hormone in the reproductive system, please, this is in human, estrogen and progesterone. Generic related terms and the DNA replication. So the issue of chromosome, gene, DNA, RNA, the homozygotes chromosomes, the dominant, the recessive, those terms. DNA replication, how does DNA replicate? Meaning that how does DNA make exact copy of itself? You need to know there that we have the DNA polymerase and enzyme that unzip the two strands of DNA to break the hydrogen bond. Please, you need to know that. Food chain and food web, the nutrient cycle, these are your carbon, water, and nitrogen cycle, as well as your conservation. The process of conservation, as I said earlier, conservation in terms of, you need to know what is conservation, the meaning of the word conservation, the purpose of conservation. There are quite a lot of papers there. I think there are 9 or 10 papers that you need to make sure you familiarize yourself. The different projects in Namibia that are conserving, or in South Africa, and also the species that are need to be conserved, that are at the edge of extinction. And also the importance of conserving. Why do we need to conserve species? Very good. What you should do in your examination room, please read the instruction and question carefully. As a teacher, please always use practical example when necessary to strengthen your answers. Provide sufficient answer, meaning don't write too much or too little. Another thing that can also guide you on how much you should write is the marks allocated. Please, if there are 4 marks, you need to give 4 points. So if there's a reason, like explain the adaptation of red blood cells, or explain how the root hair cells is adapted to its function. You can talk about, for example, it have a long extension. That is a feature which increase the surface area. So long extension, that is a mark, which increase the surface area for the absorption of water. So you need to check the marks allocated, and also the verb use. Explain those verbs, define a list. Sorry. Conclusion. Please make sure you read and understand all unit in your prescribed modules, especially for the ACSE biology. As I said, it's a thick modules. So please, it has a lot of content. And it's good, it's fun, because we have a variety of different living organisms on Earth. We need to know them. So please read, not only just to read with memorizing, read and understand. Read the instruction carefully. Please use your own example. Write as neatly as possible. Good luck with your examination. Prepare well. Don't hesitate to ask. Please ask where you don't understand. My details are on the cover of this presentation. You can call me, and please, I will be able to help you. Thank you, and good luck with your exam.